Alright guys, a little bit of a different one this week from the regular sort of pause for thought shows. This was still a show on Threshold FM. It went out as a 3-part show, and depending on how big the file size is, this might be 1 week, it might be 2 weeks. What it is it's a swapcast. I don't know what the other people would call that. I've only ever seen these sort of things called swapcasts. So the guys from the couple that scare together had me on their show early last year, I think, early 2020, yeah. And I returned the favour. You know, we have a little chat. I say a little chat. Got 2 hours of talking. You know, so knuckle down, or fucking prepare yourselves. Hopefully you enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you, or feel, get in touch with other podcasters if you think, I'd like to hear this guy talk to this guy. Be the middleman. Be the middleman you want to see in the world. Fucking micromanage me. Or if you're listening to this and you got your own show or something, get in touch and maybe we could have a chat. Let's see what happens. Anyway, I'll let you crack on. I won't keep you for too long. I'm not even going to put little clips in this to say, go to my website or out, because it's already long enough, mate. So if you do want some stuff, there'll be resin stuff very soon. This is the end of May at the minute, 2021, as I'm putting this out. So there should be resin stuff in a couple of weeks' time. Mystery boxes are back, guys. Try me ebooks, and if you're feeling particularly kind, join the Patreon. Patreon.com/worldaroundyou. Or, go to worldaroundyou.com and get the ebooks. But if you join the Patreon, you can now get access to at least 2 out of 3 of the ebooks. Maybe all 3. I honestly can't remember. I was, if I sound a bit weird right now, I was up till about 4:30 in the morning, harvesting the testicles from mice. So, as I said, I won't keep you for too long. I hope you enjoy the show. I'll see you in a bit. Just before I do go, though, I've put the links to the couple that scares together in the description. You've got the link to, if you're listening on Spotify, you've got the link to the Spotify. If you're listening on Apple, you've got the link to them on Apple. I don't have the facilities to give you the links for them for everything like that on each individual thing you're listening to. But you can find them. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. They may be on Twitter by now. Possibly on Good Pods. Not too sure. But yeah. And let the guys know as well what you think, and go and try their shows. There'll be a link in the description, as I say. This time, I'll see you in a bit. Enjoy.
Me too, man.
But yeah, Jason hasn't figured out how the internet works. He's working on it. He just asked me if he needed to put the light switch up or down to get the internet to work, and I said neither. It has nothing to do with it. But that's fun.
You never know, though. It could have something to do with it, innit? The light bouncing off the infra waves or whatever. I know nothing about science.
No, he said it's like, witchcraft. I said it's not.
It is like, but seriously, when you think about it, like, you're over in the UK. Where do you live, man? Exactly.
I live in the southwest. That little bit that looks like a foot at the bottom of the country.
All right, so think about that. Like, this whole thing, like, you're in the UK. Like, we're in America, in Pennsylvania.
Would that matter what your direction you were going?
I'm just saying, the fact that we can, like, communicate.
Why, Nicole, do you reckon you'd have to go with the wind?
Yes, yeah. It's either, and he needs a compass and 2. Like, what would that have to do with anything?
I just think it's incredible that we can do this.
If you had said, I live in the northern part, you've been like, okay, forget it.
Do you know?
Yeah, really, I don't get that. Yeah, I get what you mean now, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know. Like, I thought that was going in a different direction. Like, what the hell does that have to do with anything?
What do you mean? Just the fact, like, that we can, like, communicate from across the ocean.
That's true.
And, like, I just think it's incredible. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, the world is small now. Mm-hmm. So they say. It might be flat.
Do you know what I find incredible?
What?
Go on.
Let me tell you what I find incredible. Is that we have been doing Zooms and internet stuff since March, so like a year, right? Almost a year. And Jason still hasn't figured out, when I'm teaching, that people can hear him as long as they can hear me through the computer. He's shocked every time I go, shh, I'm teaching, like live, interactive. And he goes, oh, they can hear me? Yeah, still.
No, what she's not telling you is there's this, like, I radiate, this.
The look on her face when she said radiate, she looked so worried.
She's so attracted to it that she can't. That's what's really going on.
It's not.
Yeah, what it is, Jason, she's scared that other people will notice that you're radiating this ominous goo
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. On every video I teach, my face does this. Shh, no, stop.
Are we recording this right now?
I'm
Put
not.
on. So
I am. I've got it on. I did
all right.
already.
So
But
later on, then, can you send it over to us?
yeah, no worries. No worries. It's going there anyway.
Right, awesome.
I don't know what I'll take from it. I'll probably use it all because that's been quite a good start. And
Yeah.
even this, mate, fuck it. Keep this in.
Yeah, this is our
This
outtakes.
is what we do, man. There is no like editing. We just.
fair.
I mean, you've heard our show. We just go with it.
Yeah,
No, editing would take all the fun right out of it. We
No,
live
it
in
does, and it makes it difficult as well. I tried editing my first few shows, and I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, because I'd end up speaking for like an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, and then be
Yeah.
like, fuck me, I need music in here as well. So I got to cut out, like, leave it down to half an hour, and you take bits out of it, and you're like, right, this don't make any sense. But mine don't make no sense anyway. So I don't have to really worry about it. But it just didn't really flow. But
right, it's like a stream of consciousness.
Hey,
Aye.
so like, tell us about kind of what you've been doing because you're now branching out. Like I listened to one of your shows yesterday or Friday, one or the other, just recently. And you're doing like your regular shows, and then you're doing these little kind of macro.
yeah. Well,
micro versions.
it's
like,
all for where this is going to go out. This is going to go out first on Fresh Old FM in 2 or 3 days' time on Wednesday. And then I'll release it later on Spotify or YouTube. It will probably be about 3 months down the line because I'm about 3 months behind on recordings on what goes out on there. But yeah, the little tiny bits, the here's hows are like 10 bits of advice from me. But people keep saying they sound sociopathic. So I don't really want to be saying that they're from me anymore, but they are. And it was never intended as that. It was just sort of advice for people that people might not have thought of before, like it might work, it might get you arrested, but it might work, and that's just a little segment of it, and then the rest of it is me talking out my arse for however long I can manage about whatever topic I've decided. Like this week's was dog bothering.
Nice.
No,
I think funny, you should do like a bingo card and have every trait of a sociopath, and when you hit it, people can just mark a bingo card and go like, okay. Right.
Well, they get half of that with the taxidermy, though, don't they? And the way I promote that. So, what happens though when they fill this card, though, Nicole? When they fill this card, Nicole, what happens to me then? Do I get sectioned at the end of it? Is that what they win?
Maybe, but they also get a door prize, so it's a win-win for everybody.
They get me paraded past in the Pope mobile just on my way to the hospital.
Yes.
You gotta have it. People have to have a sense of humor, man.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
Well, that's the problem. You get people on there that think you're like, you're
serious.
Like dispensing advice to them.
Yeah.
Like you gotta take it with a grain of salt. Like have a little bit of a sense of humor and live a little.
I mean, that's part of the reason we started our whole podcast is because in our real life, we're like so censored and so worried what people are going to think, and it was just like out of the need to find some sort of expression that's real, that's just not contrived. And as particularly, I mean, I'm sure you guys have social media over in the States that's the same way, but over here and in our particular age demographic and socioeconomic demographic and everything else, it's just, you have to be so careful that everything you post or everything you say, everything has to be perfect. You have to have a perfect family. You have to present a perfect image, and that's exhausting. So
I bet it is. I've never really thought about it like that, having to have like the perfect image in that. We don't really, I wouldn't say that was like a massive social influence over here. We have one of the biggest influences on social media over here is you lot though, the Americans. So like we use language differently. So over in England and Australia, if you call someone a cunt, that's like a term of endearment. It can be negative.
Jason too.
I call my wife the
No. It used to be years ago. If he said that, I would see red and write it down to then talk about it every fight we had. Thus, after referencing the time that he used that word.
That's
like,
crazy.
That's how triggering it is. Oh yeah, I would keep notes in my phone and pull it up.
It doesn't matter. No, Nicole, you've missed the point. It doesn't matter what the notes are. The fact you were keeping notes for when you have this inevitable argument, that's what's mental. That's terrifying.
Proof that I'm right in a court of two.
Very much like a sociopath herself.
I don't think so. I'm just a right fighter. Like I have to. Sometimes. now I figured out that if I don't raise my voice and that if I don't say
that
anything
drives me
nasty,
crazy.
I actually win. So I do a lot of this. If that's how you feel,
I can't
sure.
stand that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
because
I
that's
know.
kind of patronizing and you're dancing
Yes.
around the
Yes.
point.
Oh, and
Kind of.
it makes him infuriated. He actually gets worse. And then 24 hours later, he has to apologize for everything he said, and I have nothing to apologize for. So I've learned in my old age, that's
First
how
of
you
all,
win.
You don't apologize for
Okay.
anything. Anyway.
Nothing.
Let's not.
Nothing.
Don't give him this illusion that you apologize for stuff. Because
When
my
I'm
wife
wrong,
never,
I will apologize.
No,
I'm not
no,
wrong.
she's never wrong. So there's never any need to apologize.
Correct. I'm not. I'm very.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been a fucking brilliant introduction to you, Pedo, for people listening who haven't got a fucking clue who you are.
I know.
Like-
Let me tell you, we're the worst of what happens to middle-aged American white folk who get married and then just have to deal with the ramifications of that. That's what I mean. That's
Luckily,
what
listen, Jack's got the world by the balls. He's a young stud.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Stud? Oh.
he's not married. Yeah,
Yeah.
not married, right, Jack?
No, I'm not married. I live with my missus though. I see. I don't see a point in marriage because over here neither of us earn enough money to benefit from the tax benefits of being married.
Gotcha.
Neither of us
Yeah.
are religious. We're not really. It doesn't make any sense to me anyway. It doesn't make much sense to her either. It seems like a pointless waste of a day and money.
What does your partner think of what you do, like your business? It's just out of curiosity.
She helps me out sometimes. I've had her harvesting testicles and hearts out of dead mice before over Christmas periods and that. She likes it. She comes up with some of the ideas and that, man, you know. She thinks some of the shows are weird that I do.
Yeah.
Then she listens to me live show every week with Jimmy Budd on a Thursday at 7. She listens to that every week. And afterwards she'll be like, yeah, that was a weird one, that was really weird. Or sometimes I think once she said that it was funny. She doesn't really find me funny. But that's why I like
she
her.
said it once, all the shows you've done, and she's only said it once?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Now, do you guys have ground rules? Like, can you not talk about things? Or do you have any rules where she's like, please don't talk about me on the podcast or the radio?
She wouldn't really like me talking about her generally. Like if I was to start describing her or what she looks like, where she goes, what she does and stuff like that. But then I guess most people would get funny though if you're telling a bunch of strangers the intimate details of someone else's life.
Yeah.
It's a fucking weird thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I sit with a piece of paper during the podcast and say, stop. That's enough.
Yeah, there's certain things I can't.
Because he would tell everybody everything.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's enough. That's enough of that.
Well, maybe you should. Maybe you should do that as a separate one rather than, because we've not even said where you're from, the couple that scares together. We'll talk about what that is in a minute. But you should do that as a separate show. Just have Jason Tells or something, you know.
Jason tells everything. Or it should be like every time I go, we have day jobs. Do you want me to be fired? Like, stop right now. I don't look good in this story.
The truth is, well, I shouldn't say it. Never mind. I can't. Like, that's okay. Take those day jobs, and we'll move on to the next phase where this becomes our day job.
Okay, well, I don't want that. I don't want to be pushed right into it.
But you're gonna get that in betweeny bit though, Jace. There, where you've got to have the day job that you've just lost. You're gonna have to then find a part-time day job to fill in that gap. And I can tell you from experience, when there's loads of weird shit about you on the internet, and you go for a job interview, the interviewers they're interested, but they don't fucking like you. Because I've sat in interviews and they've gone to me, they've gone, sorry, Jack, we've searched your name as we do every time we go on Google, every applicant. Do you mind telling us what it is we found? And they'd be like, well, I don't know, because there's been quite a lot of news articles. Was it the rat scrotum necklaces? They'd be like, no. It was a rat. Oh, which rat was it? Was it the pencil case rat? They'd be like, no. Like, oh, okay. It's best. You tell me what you've seen.
Right.
That's right.
Tell us about.
I've said enough.
Tell you about it.
Tell us about you, Jack. That's how they're going to open the interview.
Oh my.
Tell us about yourself. What can you know?
Well,
I fell for that before. When I've done it,
so like polar for what we do, because we have this podcast and we're the purpose of the podcast is really just to talk about spooky stuff that I like to do. That again, I could not share in mixed company because I'm a teacher by day, so I have teacher friends, and then we have children, and all my other friends revolve around my kids.
Okay.
And they, it would just be a very sort of, I could never be like, so hey, did anybody see that ghost video last week on the internet? It would be crickets. right. I go to functions and I go with, moms that are very well put together, and they talk about Botox and the Real Housewives and what's happening in sports and in our local community, but they don't talk about anything else.
Right.
So we started it really for to just talk about
Just
spooky
needed
stuff.
to vent, did you?
Yeah.
Why don't you?
And now it
You
is
to
devolved into some sort of nut thing where we just like spew all of our interests and our I don't know, we just talk about everything that comes to our mind. But I always have to remember I'm a teacher first, kind of. And I teach high school students, but my high school students have disabilities. So they're not going to be on the internet per se. I do have a few. And I live in fear. I do have a few.
No,
and
I'm just laughing at the way you said that. Because of the way Jason looked at you. So when you said, I do have students, but they are disabled. And Jason looked at you as if to go, how the fuck are you going to finish that sentence?
But I have a couple that love spooky stuff, and they know I like to put it in my lessons and really kind of capture their attention, because they're high school kids still.
Yeah.
They don't know I have a podcast.
No.
And they don't know
that's
anything
nothing,
about
though. That'd be nothing, because when we was at school, we had one of our teachers. She'd been in for about a month. I can remember her name, probably best not to say because it'd be libelous. But it turned out she was a softcore porn star.
Yeah.
Which is the worst. Yeah, and that's the worst type of porn, isn't it? Because you don't even get to see even a nipple.
No,
it's just all very suggestive videos.
I mean, I don't
got
want
fired
to see
for it.
Nudity. I want to see real nudity.
Yeah, innit? Especially when you're in school, and you're looking at the TV. Because imagine the power. Imagine the power of a teenage boy, or even probably more from a teenage girl to a fully grown woman, going, Miss, I've seen your bumhole.
Yeah. No, that's not
brilliant.
Good. Yeah. So, well, I guess if on the spectrum, then we're okay.
So, listen, why don't you tell everybody kind of what it is that we do?
Yeah.
What it is,
what it is that
let's tell them about your show.
So about a year ago, you were in June, we started a podcast called The Couple That Scares together. And the purpose was just to do something during quarantine because we were locked in our house with 4 children. And it was maddening. And I needed something. And I said, well, I listen to podcasts ad nauseum. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I said, I'd like to talk myself, and I would talk Jason's ear off when he came home from work. I'd be like, terrible. Guess what I heard? Or I'd say, like, I just went down a rabbit hole about this haunted house, and I want to share it with you. And frankly, he probably wasn't all that interested.
No, which is fine. Like, I didn't come into it with because I wanted to discuss paranormal. But I wanted to take part in a podcast with my wife, and I do find this stuff interesting.
Yeah.
And I enjoy connecting with people and meeting new people and sharing experiences and ideas. Mm-hmm. That's the part of it that I love. Just the idea that we can communicate back and forth. To me is real. I mean, that's exciting, interesting, and I really look forward to doing this stuff today. That's what I get out of it. My wife, I love. To be honest, I love the conspiracy stuff.
Yeah.
You get a box to stand on.
Yeah. But in our given profession,
you gotta be careful.
Yeah, we have to kind of tread lightly there.
Yes, but he's a perfect captive audience because he honestly has no idea about stuff. So when I say, hey, tonight we're going to talk about this topic, part of the fun is he's heard nothing. He knows nothing about what we're going to talk about, or maybe a little bit. So I would normally at the dinner table tell him the same stuff I'm telling people that they can just listen to. And
so how often in the night do your kids wake up screaming then?
Sometimes. Oh, well.
Because if you're discussing all this stuff around tea. And,
sometimes my daughter in particular is very frightened of stuff. But she would say, stop playing it on the Alexa, your podcast. Or the podcast I was listening to in the kitchen. She'd say, you need to get headphones because I'm having nightmares. So we kind of keep that part of them separate. Our boys love it. And we have a 5-year-old who is a strange sort of little creature. We love him. We are convinced that he is has one foot in this world and one foot in another world. And he loves everything spooky and scary. He watches horror movies for fun. We let him. I'm sure he's going to have damage later.
Yeah, I'd say so. I've got a cousin who we used to let watch, is it Hellraiser, the one with Pinhead in?
Oh,
We
yeah.
used to watch them
Yeah.
on repeat every day. I think there's 3 of them, isn't there? We used to watch all 3 of them, I think it was, or 2 of them, all day, every day. And on his roundabout his, I think it was his 5th or 6th birthday, we kept finding him in the garden, jumping on snails and slugs and saying, "Oh, I'm sending them to hell. I'm sending them to hell, Nana." So
yeah, that calls for some sort of intervention.
Yeah, he's not doing anything.
well, you might be on your way to that.
Maybe,
we might be, yeah.
Fingers crossed, though, eh? Because if he becomes a serial killer or something 10 years down the line, you've got a show.
We have something
and you've got the origin story already set out with your previous ones.
Well, I always say he's going to either be the best ghost hunter, law enforcement, something like that, because he's super aggressive, or he's going to lead a gang. It could go either direction.
Listen, something else to point out here. He has a very sharp sense of humor, too. He's very funny. Like, he's got all these latent abilities. He's only 5 years old. Who knows what he's going to be doing? Maybe he's going to be doing taxidermy with you. Who knows?
Well, nothing seems to faze him. And we, out of all of our kids, he's different. And, I know parents probably say that, but he really is. We have caught him talking to people that aren't there. Like, he's very, very open. And he's for him, communicating to whatever else is out there, whether it's a dimension or the other side or people in heaven or angel, whatever you want to call them, for him, it's not weird or strange. And from what we've been told, that a lot of kids have this and it slowly starts to go away by the time they turn 5 and 6. It'll slowly start to go away. We might have saw a little bit with our daughter, like she would talk about some things, but Teddy, it's not going away. And part of it is, even if it scares us, we try not to let on it does. Like, he plays this game with his older siblings called Hide in the Dark. And 5-year-olds are typically developmentally supposed to be scared of the dark. It's just what it happens. And he is not. So he will hide in different dark places, and they'd like to see who can last the longest. And he lasts the longest, but he also talks to people in the dark.
Yeah, that's why the others leave then, because they're scared shitless of him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. His brother and sister are like, we're not playing this game.
He's playing a powerful game, then, isn't he? If he's got his older siblings scared of him because he's talking to ghosts or imaginary friends or aliens or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's something we can jump off of, though, Nicole. You're saying extra-dimensional beings and that, and ghosts and that. What do you think's more likely? Do you reckon that the ghosts of, like, dead people that have passed, but only since, like, the Victorian era, because you only really see ghosts from then? Or do you reckon that they're sort of creatures from another dimension? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I think that it's a planes of dimension, and I think that he crosses in and out seamlessly, that he doesn't even know he's doing it. He did tell me that he knows people are different because their mouths don't move.
A lot of them have said that.
Yeah,
that gets said by a lot.
That's how he knows it's different.
Yeah. That's said by a lot, and that comes in with the idea, though, that there are extra-dimensional beings that will try to emulate us, but they have no idea about how we perceive sound. I don't know how anyone knows this stuff, but what I've read, these interdimensional beings don't understand how we interpret sound and don't understand that it has to come from an actual source. They can just emit it, so they wouldn't know to move the mouth. So that does tie in with that.
Well,
I've read in the past.
And part of the reason why I think he is the way he is, when he was born a full-term baby, but I had a lot of complications. I had with my other kids too. They gave him a drug in the NICU because he wasn't breathing really well. And we later found out at about 3 months old, he no longer had hearing. That he was, when we got him tested, because I noticed it when he was 3 months old, this child is not hearing the way he should. And he was diagnosed with auditory neuropathy, and they told me he would be profoundly deaf. So Jason and I began sign language because I have a degree in it anyway, ironically. But as a family, we prepared to have a profoundly deaf child, and we were going to integrate him into the deaf community, the whole thing. And we gave him all these interventions and services. He began to speak early, and we were told that his nerves were holding, and they were going in and out. But if he got to age 4 and they hadn't gone out completely, that he might just be able to hear. Like, he might be okay. Well, he's now 5, over 5.5, and he speaks brilliantly. He has no sort of impediment you would expect or articulation issue. But I think that sensory deprivation or that removing of one of his senses heightened another. So that's why he can stand in the dark and shut his eyes and maybe not even hear, but communicate with others. So I think that's the way the way he is. It was a sensory sort of one shut off and the rest clicked on in a different way. And he has retained some of those skills. I think it's just a muscle, and he was able to access that other kids aren't.
Cool.
And there's not many kids like him.
Tell me about when, like, what was it, like a couple of months ago, maybe like 2 months ago, I walked in the bathroom. He was showering in the bathroom, like, by himself. And I yelled out for him. He didn't answer. And I yelled again, "Hey, Teddy," and he didn't answer. So I walked in the bathroom and like pulled the curtain back to see if he was okay, just checking up on him. And there he was. He was on the floor of the shower with his arms kind of like laid out, like as if he was in prayer, like kneeling. And like you could tell that he was just kind of listening with his head down and focusing on some kind, it looked like a prayer or some type of communication. Like he didn't hear me walk in and call his name because he was so tuned into what was, whatever it was that he was doing.
What
Which
did he
is
say he
odd
was
because
doing?
I think he was meditating, but he should know what that is, because we are not religious. We used to be, but after he was born, we weren't. He doesn't go to church. He doesn't see prayer.
What is it
in a
that turned
traditional
you away
form.
from religion then? What was it then?
The church, to be honest.
The church. I was raised Catholic, and Jason converted when we were married, and his conversion, I went through it with him and had a problem along the way every time. Like I just had realized that all these like archetypes and narratives that I've been told no longer served a purpose in my life, and that I could love God or love the universe or love whatever's out there and my family and be a great person and radiate goodness without religion and without doing that to my children, that structure. I just decided our family didn't need it. And everything then became, I no longer need this tool. Like, I think religion and structure is fantastic. It's just not something I need. And
It's
my
good if
children
your
might
mum and
decide
dad are
different.
busy, innit? It's good when when the parents are busy. Say if the parents are working full time, then convince the kid that God exists and that God is keeping an eye on him when the mum and dad aren't, and if he does
Right.
something bad, the mum and dad aren't going to punish him right now because they don't know, but God and Jesus might, smack him about a bit and send him to hell or whatever, or
Right.
make him forever sit in a waiting room. It's like a babysitting tool, isn't it?
Right. Right. And then I lost my mom about a year ago, and
Okay.
I watched her pass away, and I was okay with I was okay with the process of letting her go. And she was very religious. And I think it was very symbolic that when I let her go, I let that part of it go. And then Teddy too told me, because he talks to people and he would say like that he speaks to my mom, and he would say when people get mad at him or say, "Teddy, she's in heaven," he would say, "No, she's just in the other place." Like that's what he says. You can call whatever you want.
This might be inappropriate to ask, and if it is, I am sorry, but I don't really have a gauge on that. From someone who sort of studies the paranormal and that, from your point of view, Nicole, what was it like to see your mum pass? If that's a really emotional question, I apologise, but
no, it was it was a profound experience in that she was sick, not sick for very long, but towards the end, we were praying that she would go. She was praying that she would go, and it was an experience. My sister and I are her only children, and we're very close. And we were very close to her. Like, she lived with us. So my mom was my whole world. And my mom said some things at the end that now we're just starting to put those pieces together that they make sense. But I'm 100% convinced now, watching her physically die, that there is something else. And I don't know what that something else is. I don't necessarily believe in a heaven and hell, but I do believe that it's someplace you want to go. And like a next step or another room. Or like there's a party going on and I can't get there, but she can. Because her last moments there was a distinct piece that hadn't been there when she was towards the end. Yes, like it was a single tear that she squeezed her eye, a single tear that came down, and she left her body completely, and I saw her go. And I know she was going someplace better. And between that and just I've had some other experiences where I've had like loved ones pass. I just now, nothing about death scares me. Nothing about that. I don't look forward to it. I don't want to go through it. I'm not ready. I worry about my children. I worry about Jason. But I think something else is the next tangible step, or whatever comes next is something we should never resist. And
what
I
do
now
you think
know that.
that is then?
Yeah.
What do you both think that is then? What do you think? Yeah, we can start getting a bit deep now. What do you think this is then, what we're in now? Because you got different theories out there. Like some people, like, they used to think this was some form of book that's translated now into being a simulation.
Right.
Other people think this is all the mind of one creature, and it's that creature trying to learn a new environment before it moves into that environment. But what do you?
I don't think it's any of that stuff. I think it's another, like a spiritual plane, like a spiritual realm. Like there's, I believe, and some of this, I guess, comes from, like the religious constructs or the background, what you want to call it. But like there is like a soul, a spirit, like a being that is you, like outside of your body. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do feel that way, that like there is, like there's some other plane that that we just can't get to, or haven't learned how to get to, because of our physical selves are here. But there's more to this world than just what we can see and feel and experience. I mean, I truly believe that. And part of that, I mean, that's come recently for me because of our son, because he talks about, like, talking with Nicole's mother. Mm-hmm. My mom passed away, like, more than 10 years ago, like 13 years ago. She died of breast cancer. And Teddy has talked about communicating with my mom, mm-hmm. Who, I mean, he's 5 years old. He never met her. He wasn't even, a thought then. So, I mean, that, like, these experiences really have, sort of taken me down that path where I think, that there is more. Mm-hmm. And like that, gives me, like some, some, I feel hopeful, positive and hopeful, and that there's promise for this world, that things are going to be okay.
I think all of it's true. I think everything is true. I think if you think of it as aliens or entities or low frequency entities, you can call them demons. What I think it's all true. It's just the lens in which we experience it and see it. I think we manifest our own lives. I think that we create and write our own stories. And I think those stories go on. I am convinced that I have known people in my life, like Jason, many lives. Like maybe they weren't my husband in another life, but there are people in my lives, my own children, some people that my sister, people that are really, I'm close to, that I say, friends that I've met, that I know I've known you more than this life. And maybe not in the same sort of context, but I know I'll see you again in a different format. I think it's, you can call it a matrix if you want, or you can call it a simulation.
Well, it sounds a bit like Blackadder. Have you seen Blackadder?
Yeah, a little bit.
It sounds a little bit like that, where it's the same actors playing similar roles with each other through different series. Do you not think that seems a bit depressing, though?
Yes, I do. I think
that's mortifying to think I'm only ever going to know the same 15 people for eternity.
We talk about that a lot. Actually, we just talked about that last night. That makes me feel depressed to think that. And listen, like, people, I mean, that's her opinion. That's fine.
But because you think there's one person puppeting it.
Yeah, I hate the idea when people use the term matrix or simulation. That bothers me, because that really simplifies. Well, plus, it simplifies this experience. Like, our human experience is not simple, and like, I mean, it's extraordinary to me. And like, that's how I view it. And like, that you should take advantage of, you know, this life and try and do as much as you can, get out of your comfort zone, meet as many people, do as much as you possibly can, like enjoy your life, like to live, you know, in a place of, you know, joy and happiness. I truly try and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, to just call it a simulation is like almost like programming.
Or limiting.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's limiting.
Yeah.
I think if you want more than those 15 people, then create more. Like if you want different, then you get to create it. And it doesn't stop in this life.
Where do you think that comes from then, Nicole? When you say you create it, so that means like, I mean, everything's atoms in that, innit? Like, I'm not taking the piss, innit? I'm just digging in. So where does that come from? When you make it, are you making literal physical manifestations of your thoughts, or are they like a projection from your brain and they're not real to other people, or other people aren't seeing what you're seeing? They're seeing what they want to see imposed on this thing that's manifested.
Yeah, like I often say to Jason, I think you might be like a non-player character in my life. Like sometimes I'll look at him and get a and be like,
so when is the divorce, Jason? When are you considering signing it?
That's what I'm talking about.
No, but I really believe we create and we manifest our own existence and our own relationships. I don't know if I care if it doesn't feel real to someone else because it feels real to me. I think if you just embrace that experience and you say, okay, for 1 week, I'm going to pretend like I can control everything and feel like I'm gonna, right? No, like I am my own god.
She's like a control freak to the max.
A little bit, I am.
No shit. No shit. I want to spend a week pretending I can control the whole world.
I'm pretending that I can get that I can say, I'm gonna manifest things. I'm gonna manifest the way I feel if I were to get this, or if I feel something at work happened in a certain way, or I'm gonna feel this way if whatever. How does that feel? And you radiate that. I think you can change the course direction of your life.
Did you know that there's, I can't remember which path of magic it is, but there's a path of magic that believes you can do that by writing whatever it is you want on a piece of paper or whatever, putting it on a wall or staring at it whilst you're masturbating and reading it out loud.
Yeah, magic is strong.
Yeah, there's the belief that you can bring anything at all into this realm, if you like, by doing that.
I think that's probably accurate.
Did it. A little bit of that discussion.
Well, I do dabble in. I don't know what I'm doing, and I try to say
that's a good idea, isn't it? Let's dabble in the dark arts.
It's the best way to do it is just to really just dabble. I always say a little enchantment, if you will, or before that I don't know what I'm doing, but I'd like nothing negative to come into my world. But I was doing something in which like I want to practice how I feel and controlling how I feel, because then the rest doesn't matter. As long as I feel peaceful, then my world will be peaceful.
Buzzword that keeps it's control.
Maybe, but I'm trying to focus on myself and not controlling others. I am trying that. So one day I was in the bathroom and I had a candle and I was just, you can call it a prayer, you can call it a ritual, you can call it a chant. I was just kind of focusing my energy down and back up, like just kind of realigning myself, whatever, meditation. It's all the same, really.
And you were doing that in the bathroom as well? So is there a chance then, if energy is residual, there a chance, and your son is very in tune with it all?
Yes.
Could there be a chance that your son was reliving that emotional thing or that energy thing, and he's picked up on what you'd left over there? It's
possible. Now, I did this after the kneeling experience, but he did walk in and say, "You're doing it wrong." And I said, "Doing what?" And he said, "Your feet should be in the ground."
That's mad. What if he's like one of the old Mahatmas? I've had to research reincarnation a lot for truth seeking last week.
Yeah.
What if he's one of the Mahatmas or something, or he was supposed to be close to the Mahatma kind of thing he was on, or he's on his way as a soul to become one in 150, 200 years time or something?
I honestly think he's lived probably many lives. And I think that I'm only here as his guide. And he tells me that often. Like in a certain sort of way, like, you think you're my mommy, but you're not my boss. Like, you're just leading me.
He does say that.
He is very
You're not my boss.
You're not my boss, Mom.
Not in a way that's like demeaning.
No.
Just like
matter of fact.
Like as if he has knowledge that we don't.
Yes.
I don't know how, and people are going to hear this and think that's crazy.
Uh-huh.
But like,
No, I think
I
you're
mean,
going to come off quite well in this, Jace. I think people are going to think Nicole's crazy.
Probably. Oh no, 100%, and 100%. And I think every once in a while, though, I'll get somebody that I think, like me, is perfectly normal, and they'll pull me aside at ballet and say, I think that too. Or
But there's
my
nothing
husband
wrong
thinks
with
I'm
that.
crazy too because I listen to this
So,
kind of
like,
stuff.
why can't we just be more open and talk about it?
We do.
Like, yeah, but I'm saying, like, people in general,
Right.
like, be more open. Like, instead of, like, I mean, cut off like, media, man. Just cut it off and get involved in, like, more discussion that's, like, outside of the typical realm of communication.
It's like speaking a different language.
It is.
People
It is.
think that they just don't even speak that language, or it's not the same frequency. So they either look at you like, kind of, I don't get it, or, oh, that's cute, or that's silly.
I've had friends personally that got so pissed off when I, like, got involved in certain topics of discussion that I just had to stop talking about because I don't want to, like, ruin friendships and things like that.
Oh yeah, I've decimated, I think, most of my friendships through most of this stuff. When you got, like, the group chats and that, and you're like, yeah, I'll have a read of this, or watch this loosely documentary, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And was Jimmy Savile more than a paedophile? Was he in fact a magician? And you're like, watch this. Well, it's mental.
Right.
And everyone's like, nah, this is just dark. Why would you want to watch this? Of course he was a nonce. And it's people. It's like people want to accept what they're told, and that's it. And we know that now. We'll move on, rather than that idea of, well, we know that, but could there be more? Or even if it's not more, I find it like it's fascinating to see that person believes that. Like one of the things that you believe, Nicole, and I think you do by proxy, Jason, as I seem to think that everything Nicole is going on in her head is forced into yours. The that idea of the breadcrumbs.
Yes.
That you have, that there's something I talked about it in my Majestic 12 episode fucking ages ago, that there was like some mentally deficient alien or something in a loft or an attic somewhere, spoon feeding or dropping breadcrumbs out the window, out of this interdimensional window, and they drop through time randomly, like the fellow with the sunglasses or the babushka lady at JFK's assassination. They could be from that extra member of the Majestic 12, the Majestic 13th or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I love that idea, and I don't get why when you talk to someone and try to promote the idea of an alternative historical timeline, that people are like, no, I'd never believed that. So it is nice.
I mean, it's because they're scared, I guess. Like, whether it's fear, like whether it's anxiety.
Right.
But I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can't, like, the truth is, it takes a long time. And
you could go crazy if you start
like,
pulling a thread. You can keep pulling, and at some point, your whole narrative and premise will unravel. Like, it just does.
So think about it this way. Like, think about where we were just a few years ago, and like, there's a gradual transition where you start to think about, hey, what I've been taught through, like, formal education, what I've been taught or programmed, by the traditional media.
Yeah.
Like, it took a while to get to the point where I, like, me personally, like, opened my eyes to, like,
possibility.
Yeah, just this, like, the sheer idea that maybe the world that I know, isn't real. Like, that's not, what's going on.
It's one version
around me. Yeah,
it's one version.
All right. I mean, so, like, it takes a while to change people's minds, and some people might never believe it and won't ever believe it, and you just have to accept that.
Yes.
But I mean, me personally, I just decided that there's more out there.
Yeah.
And you have to keep, like, an open mind.
Right.
And think critically.
But not as critically as, like Nicole's saying, if you keep pulling on that thread, your whole world's fucked. And it is.
Right. I mean, you can't lose control.
Yeah.
Well, you have to figure out that I like to tell people, I'm not married to any sort of belief. I refuse to unpack my tent at this spot. I don't know what's down the road, but I'm just going to carry it all with me. And if stuff doesn't,
in the rain and the mud.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And if
that's a
something doesn't
positive.
feel good anymore, I'm going to throw it out. Or if I go along the way and I need something else, I'm going to pick that up.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's
no longer need religion, but I might. I don't know.
Well, you don't
at
need
some other
religion,
time.
but it sounds a lot like you need spirituality. It sounds a lot
Yes.
like you've gone down the path of
Yes.
spirituality from everything you
Yes.
say.
Definitely so, man.
Yeah, no,
Definitely so.
absolutely. And that part of speaking to something else that's not there and having a comforting response, I have clung to in my life and needed it. So I'm never going to say that that I didn't need it at that time or that I would give up any of that. Like, I'll never be an atheist in the definition of it, because I always believe that there is so much more. And I just need to, for me, it's a quest. It's just a quest through my life. And I am convinced that whatever I need, I'll get along the way. So if I need more, I'll be shown more. And if I don't need it yet, or if it's not my right time yet to know it, then I won't know it. So I just give myself a little peace that when the next thing happens or the next step I take, I'll know more. Like, for Jason and I, we didn't even know anything about like law of attraction or any of that kind of stuff, or manifesting or any of that until recently, like in the last 6 months. Ironically,
It's pretty accurate.
it was introduced from my sister, who does none of this. She was on her own quest, and she was on her own sort of awakening, and had this and shared it with me, which in like a serendipitous moment, I was like, I'm ready for that. That makes sense to me. I probably would never have been ready for it before this part,
No,
but now I'm ready for it. And I'm not
now
ready for anything else, but I will be, I think, in the future.
Now we practice that stuff regularly, you know, and like it's as if like the universe has just, you know, like made itself available. Like these things that we're talking about, whether you call that manifestation or, you know, whatnot, whatever that is.
Right.
I mean, that's actually happening and like transpiring, like, you know, right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
Which is pretty incredible. And again, like you have to be very careful, you know, when you have these conversations, like who you're talking to. And here we are, like talking to the world essentially, because anybody can listen. But like the wrong, I mean, most, yeah, like I said, like, I mean, in a lot of cases, like I've discussed this stuff and people have thought, oh my God, look, you're crazy.
Right.
So.
Just knowing how to talk to people, though, because I have a very close friend. She does listen, but she is extremely religious. I know that about her. And she's had a terrible run of luck, right? So we were talking lately, and she has 4 children too, and she won't mind me saying this, but she is recently divorced. It was not a good situation. She is clinging to God to get her through this, which is for her absolutely what she needs to do.
But that doesn't even make any sense though, because if from a religious standpoint, God would now hate her. So why would he? Why does she believe that he would help her?
She believes that he is taking care of her completely. And I said,
oh, that's mad.
Yeah, and I said, well, that's exactly where you need to be right now, and I am thankful that you have that, because it's keeping her sane. But it's been a little bit of time. So we were talking about next steps, and I said, like, you get to live a full life. Like, it's now your time to take the next step and have a full life. You get to do that. And when you keep telling me that God has you, it feels very much like you're not in the driver's seat. So don't discount him, but ask him if it's okay that you drive, and say, will you help me along the way? Show me the road. She was like, well, I like that. And I go, okay.
Yeah, because I mean, wouldn't God want you to live,
think so.
Like to live with purpose?
Well, I think
like,
God helps those who help themselves. And if he gives her, if that's what you believe, and he unloads an experience, or whoever it is, and that's what she needs right now. So I said to her, she goes, well, I don't know if I'm going to get lucky and find someone like you have, Jason. And I said, there was no luck in this. There was no luck in it. Before I knew what anything was. I
scraped him up off the pavement. He was fuck all without me.
Clay and mud.
I'll tell you a story about that in a second.
I still have my journal where I wrote down, I had a very unhappy first marriage, and it almost killed me emotionally. And I remember thinking, I'm very young, and I have a lot of people in my life that says you should never even have another marriage, right? You've done it once. That's it for you. And
like,
God rest her soul.
Right.
But yeah, my dear mother. But she was like, that's it. You're done. One and done, lady. And I was like, no, I think I have a whole journey ahead, and I know something great is coming. But more importantly, I'm going to write down what I want. because now I'm in control of it. And I don't have to worry. If I don't want to get married again, I don't have to. Nobody says I do. I don't need anything else. I can take care of myself, but I want this. So I wrote down all of these qualities, and I am convinced that I pulled Jason out of the ether, whatever you call it, that I was like a lighthouse in which that he was attracted to because I created that. So I told my girlfriend, I said,
tell a story too.
You can do the same thing. Just write at the top of the page, dear God. Like, I don't care who you write it to.
See, there's
Bring
a part
me this.
that is kind of seeing where where Teddy, your son, gets the idea that, you know, these other dimensional things don't move their mouths when they talk, because you can speak for a few minutes at a time and Jason's lips don't move at all. So is he just scared that is he scared of Jason being like one of these ghosts?
Yes, probably.
Listen.
Is Daddy talking?
I mean, the buzzword, like control.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a story, okay? First date, what was it, like 10?
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, like, you know, whatever years ago. First date, like we made up, and it wasn't long into it. And I said to her, listen, I said, I am going to marry you one. And
I said, no, thank you.
Yeah,
that's an intense thing to say when you've just met her.
Yeah,
That's very intense.
Our first conversation was, so I don't want to get remarried. I'd like somebody to go out with a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
That would be amazing. But I'm not interested in a long-term commitment. I just want to have a good time. I just want a boyfriend.
What does that mean? What were you interested in?
I just wanted dinner. Like, I wanted to be out and be a human.
It's just a free meal. That's all you were, Jason, was a free meal. This has become less about let's get people to listen to the couple that scares together and more.
Right.
Can Jack decimate this relationship? Can he dismantle it over the ocean?
So she said all of that, and you know, like,
and he heard none of it.
I heard it. I just disregarded it because I just felt like that, you know, like this is where I'm supposed to be. And I said, yeah, I mean, I heard all that you said, and I said, okay. I said, I'm telling you right now, as I'm sitting here, that we are going to get married. Like, I'm going to marry you. And she like blew me off, whatever.
Well, that's lucky though on the first date to get that, Jace.
Yeah, no, sir. Yeah. And I mean, here we sit.
Yeah. Our second date was Gettysburg, and we went on a haunted ghost tour. So we knew.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so he got what he wanted on the first date. You got what you wanted on the second day.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just great. Yeah. So from the beginning, we loved that kind of stuff. So, fair. Yeah. I know people at home are probably like, "Oh God,
this is so boring.
Why do we need relation advice from them?" Because we don't know what we're doing.
I think
we don't know what we're doing.
This has given me an idea for if I do this with other podcast hosters and radio show presenters, rather than it being about the show itself, because people will already have an idea what things are, usually from the title. Right. It actually seems like quite a nice idea to just talk to the hosts of something and get a bit of their personality, which I didn't think this is where this would go. I didn't really know where this would go. I've got prompts written down here, which I haven't even looked at once, but they're not really much of prompts. They're just fucking words with question marks after them. So I had all these grand intentions, but
I think that really the people I have noticed, I started the show so that people could see our thoughts about interesting places. Like, I started with places that I had been to or that I love or that I had a connection to, and it had some sort of divine, inspiration to share. But what has attracted people is...
you mean we? I've been to.
Well, yeah, but I really, yes.
Constantly trying to, I am involved in your life, Nicole. I am here.
Can I sit next to you? Yes, you can. I'm so happy.
Fine.
We could replace him with Davey the hand puppet. You could fill in. But what it's become is people really go, you know what? I have a similar relationship with my husband or my partner, or I'm bored going out to dinner on a Saturday night because we think we have to have a date night, get away from our kids or whatever, because society says you're supposed to do that. And we don't even talk while we're there, but we stare at our phones and talk about the kids or whatever. If we can open up some sort of exciting conversation for couples, then I think that was a secondary win for us. And it might not be scary stuff. Like, find out what you love together as a couple.
Like, find a mutual,
a shared passion.
Do together, like mutual interest.
Yes.
If you haven't found it, then goddamn it, then go
Make
find
it.
Like, go and start that journey. and find it. Like for you, it's taxidermy and, like getting
And
it.
art,
No, but seriously, and
art
getting
and
into your
creating
shows,
that.
like and exploring yourself, like creatively. I mean, and like this is that for us. Like we really genuinely enjoy doing this stuff. Like it's a break from our kind of mundane, like world of like our family and our jobs.
And I think we've learned more about each other in a year than we had the 10 years prior to that, because it gives you an opportunity to see, like to talk about big issues or to talk about silly things or talk about whatever. That is invaluable to couples. So that's really what I think is what's happened that's so good about this podcast. It's not just scary stuff. We could talk about anything. We could talk about true crime, which we love.
Conspiracy.
We could talk about conspiracies. We could talk about dogs, which we love our dogs. We could talk about children or how we raise our kids. It's just talking together and sharing together, which is so important. And people lose, and that's why I think people are, because we know a lot of people, we won't call them out, that are unhappy with each other or just unhappy. In fact, we were trying to rack our brains and make a list of people that we thought were happily married.
Honestly, I don't really think anybody's happy. I've never believed that anybody's ever happy. I think people pretend to be happy to stop other people from feeling as shit as what they feel. I don't think anyone ever really, no one really ever just sits and smiles on their own, do they? Because if you do that, then you're fucking demented. So, it's a social cue. To smile is a social cue. Someone else is smiling, so you smile back at them, and then they look at you, and maybe you've smiled at them for a bit too long, and they're getting a bit nervous. But you're only smiling because someone else is.
Right.
It's all right. It's
Take
all right.
the dog out.
Yeah.
Take him out.
It's one of our kids just walked in the room.
It's like, what do
Tried to. I'm sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it, man. It's fine. Right. So what we'll do is we'll end it there, and we'll let Nicole and Jason deal with the kid, with the child, and the dogs. The dogs need to go for a wee and that. So we'll pick back up where we left off with them next week. If you've enjoyed it, go and let them know. Go and find them on Twitter and that. Go and tell the couple that scares together that you heard the show, and you want to hear more of their shows, and that you're going to subscribe to their shows. Subscribe to my show as well. If you feel like it. Also, their links are in the bio below. My links are in the bio below. I'll fucking see you in a bit, guys.